Hello and welcome once again to Loveland's Talking. My name is Andy Hiller. I'm the Public Information Officer here for the city, and we're here this month, as we are every month, to share with you, the public, information about what's going on with your City of Loveland government. As I'm sure you know, the City of Loveland is considered a national leader when it comes to recycling and some of its trash collection exercises and services. Today we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about some of the things that are coming up in the future or have already begun to make the system even easier and more efficient. It's going to get even better. With me today are a couple of fellows who work for the Solid Waste Division. That's the official name for the division that picks up your trash and recyclables. I will have them introduce themselves, starting with a frequent visitor here, Bruce.
Morning. Thanks, Andy. Bruce Philbrick with the Solid Waste Division.
And your position there?
A superintendent.
So you're kind of the boss.
You could say that.
Okay. Mike?
My name is Mike Berry. I'm a supervisor for recycling.
And what does that mean?
I'm in charge of all the recycling that goes on in the city, and I have a crew of 5 guys that go out and pick up the entire city.
I see. Okay, good. Okay, thank you. Well, folks, we are calling this, we like to have a little fun here as well as just provide information. So we're calling this show Bye-Bye Bins and Bags because, in effect, that's what's coming up. Your recycling bins and your plastic trash bags, at least more or less, are going away. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So as soon as I get my my slides here in order, bear with me here, we will get to that. Okay, so currently today, or these days, we're going to start with recycling. We're going to talk about recycling and how that's going to change. Today, when you put out your items for recycling, you use bins, correct? And we have a slide on the screen of green bins and blue bins. Is that basically currently what the situation is?
That's our current service for recycling, and it has been that way since 1993. And as you can see in the slide, all the containers go in the green bin, the glass bottles and jars, aluminum cans, steel cans, plastic bottles. And the blue bin is for paper products, newspaper, magazines, catalogs, junk mail, office paper, cardboard. So that's the system we've had, and that's what's going to be changing. That's going away.
Okay, so presto changeo, those bins are going to turn into, ta-da, a blue cart. Tell us about that. What goes in the carts?
Well, basically what goes in the carts is everything that goes in the blue and green bins currently, and cardboard. You can actually fit bigger pieces of cardboard in the recycling carts.
So everything goes into the cart.
Everything goes in the cart.
Okay, and so the items that were separated in the 2 colored bins. All in one place.
Exactly, and something we'd like to clarify too. There's a lot more capacity with this container. The 2 bins were 15 gallons each and picked up weekly, so essentially 30 gallons of service weekly. Now we're going to every other week service, and our standard cart is going to be a 95-gallon cart. Some households will receive a 65-gallon cart, smaller households. But this gives households a lot more capacity to hold their recyclables and store their recyclables, and we're hoping that hopefully it'll allow people to recycle more materials.
Okay, and you're preparing for this because you guys have a lot of carts right now in your inventory ready to be distributed throughout the town. Mike, how often are the big carts going to be emptied now?
They're going to be emptied every other week, and what's going to happen is when you receive a blue cart, you're going to receive a calendar.
Yeah.
It will state your week, and you're going to either be in a blue or a green week. And we'll pick up your cart every other week with half the trucks.
Okay, so you guys only have to make half the trips, in effect.
Yep.
Well, that ought to save some time, money, and fuel.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Absolutely, it saves. It certainly saves on operational costs, and the other thing it saves us money on is that we buying 2 less trucks. So there's a considerable capital savings as well in going to this new service.
Okay, when you say capital, you're talking about upfront big money.
Exactly, the cost of buying those trucks.
So, and I understand some of this is already in effect here in the city.
Yep. Basically, right now we have a third of the city converted, which is about 8,000 homes. And we look forward to converting the rest of the city early next year.
And you guys didn't just wake up one morning and decide to do this. You did kind of a trial program with this before to see how it would work before you began moving forward with all of this. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. We ran a pilot for about half a year. We gathered information, weights. Our recycling rates kind of went up, didn't they?
We did. We saw that people recycled more per household with the cart-based service as opposed to the blue and green bin service, which is something we expected might happen, but we were pleasantly surprised by the boost.
Well, I would think that it bears out what you're trying to do is make things easier and more convenient for people. So if you do that, they are more likely to use it.
Exactly.
What a concept.
Yeah.
Okay. So about 8,000 or a third of the community is using this. When will the rest of the community be involved with this, and how do they become involved? Do they have to call you and order carts, or what's the deal?
No, it'll happen on a neighborhood by neighborhood basis, and we're waiting right now on the delivery of new trucks. We have to have new trucks to be able to expand it further, and we have to take delivery of another 10,000-12,000 carts and get those assembled.
You mean those aren't enough?
Surprisingly, we've already received about 11,000 carts.
Wow.
But no, we need probably another 10 or 12,000 more to finish up the city. And we will notify households. They'll receive a mailer from us explaining in detail the service prior to their cart being delivered.
Okay, so basically at this point, the carts are coming in and you're waiting on the trucks, and you expect the trucks to arrive and become operational when?
Oh, I think probably sometime December, January, February.
Okay. Late in the year, beginning of next year.
Yes, we just hope that we're not delivering carts when it's sub-zero and 2 feet of snow on the ground.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah. Well, maybe Santa will bring you trucks for Christmas.
That would be a pleasant surprise.
Okay. All right. So we've talked about bye-bye bins, and the bins being replaced by the carts for recycling. Let's change now from recycling to trash collection. And we began by saying bye-bye bags. What is the current situation with using bags for your trash?
Well, about right now, about 20, maybe 22% of our households total are still using bags for trash collection.
As opposed to?
The remainder of the households, the other 78% are using a cart, subscribing to cart service.
And how does the bag system work? Carts are easy. You put your stuff in the cart and wheel it out to the curb, but bags are a little different.
Bags, people have to buy their own bag and then purchase a city trash stamp from any one of numerous local retailers.
Okay.
And then affix one stamp per bag and then set it out on the curb. And that stamp, the cost of the stamp essentially pays for the collection and disposal of that bag. It's been a great system. It's a great pay-as-you-throw alternative for trash disposal, but our challenge has been that it's very difficult to design a collection system around both a manual bag-based system as well as an automated mechanical system that dumps carts. It's very difficult to design a truck and the cab and everything so that it's conducive to doing both. So we've made the commitment to move to an all cart system on trash as well.
Okay, so bye-bye bags. So now we're going to have carts, and folks, if you're not paying attention here, this next slide is worth seeing, I think anyway. You're going to all carts, and to illustrate the different sizes, we have my favorite critters, pooches. And anyway, so how many sizes of carts do you have currently in use?
We have 4 different sizes.
Okay.
They start with a 96-gallon cart, which is
the Great Dane.
where the Great Dane is.
Yeah, okay.
We move on down to a 64-gallon.
The Lab, yeah.
And then a 32-gallon. And recently we just bought these 17 gallons to, just broaden our
Broaden the collection service, yeah, okay.
We think that 17-gallon cart is going to be very popular with single households, households occupied by a single person, perhaps seniors, or households that are just very committed to reducing waste and recycling. That 17-gallon cart will be perfect for a household that generates one kitchen-sized bag, a little 13-gallon size bag that comes out of the container underneath the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
Perfect for
And a little more.
Yeah, and a little more.
And room for a little more. Okay, so basically you're broadening the cart selection while you're removing the bag option. So if you're doing one bag perhaps a week and it's not, you don't fill it anyway, the 17-gallon Chihuahua size might be the one to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'd like to clarify too that for extra trash, households can still put out a bag and put a stamp on it and set it next to the cart. But for primary means of trash collection, all households will need to subscribe to a city trash cart service.
And as I understand it from the way you've explained it to me, a bag alone is unacceptable.
Correct.
But if you have a cart and you had a great party and you've got leftovers or this and that, the kid's birthday, and the box from the bicycle or whatever, you don't have enough room for all your items in whatever cart size you've selected, you can still put out a bag for the extra.
Yes, you can.
And the procedure's the same. You put out a bag and buy one of those stamps and you're good to go.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. So we've kind of mentioned this here and there, but let's go over all the benefits and the reasons why you are making this change from bags to carts, at least as the primary reason. Number one on our list here is standardization. What does that mean?
Well, standardization means we can use, a recycling truck for trash if we get in a bind, and all these trucks are going to be able to pick up, recycle carts, trash carts, and basically be used all around. So
the only real difference in the carts is going to be the color and maybe the size to a degree, but you're not going to have some bags and some carts, and you need somebody who's got to get in and out of the truck to lift the bags as opposed to not doing it for the carts, etc.
Exactly. It's just a much simpler system. We'll have one style of truck that we'll buy, a simpler, cheaper truck to buy in the future. Recycling trucks.
Did you say cheaper?
Cheaper, yes, because recycling trucks are actually more expensive. A standard divided recycling truck is more expensive.
What do you mean divided?
Well, in the past, when we've collected the materials in the two different bins, we had to keep the materials separate in the trucks. We had a divided truck with separate compaction panels and all kinds of equipment. Anyway, we paid a premium for that.
Okay.
Now we'll be buying a standard garbage truck that can be used again for yard waste, trash, or recyclables, and that truck again is less expensive.
All of the above in one truck. Okay. Now this next item here is beneficial, especially for the homeowner, for the user. Everything rolls. What does that mean? How is that different than what currently being done?
No more lugging that heavy newspaper bin out to the curb, and you're just going to have to roll your cart out and set it out on the street. And it's going to be a lot more simple for the public.
The
Okay.
same thing with trash bags. We won't have to deal with the 85-pound trash bag full of cat litter that someone drug out to the curb, and only to find out when we picked it up there was no bottom left in the bag.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that happens from time to time.
Oh, yeah.
More often than you probably.
Yeah.
It's probably your big nightmare all the time.
Oh, yeah.
To lift it up. It happens to all of us at home with a bag once in a while, but you guys are doing this every day, so, okay, I hadn't quite thought about that. Okay, another thing that we see from time to time with the bins, especially with the newspaper bins, is on a windy day, what happens?
It just blows everywhere. And with these new trucks, they're going to be a little bit different than the front loader style that lifts up over the top and spills, newspaper and commingled everywhere. These are a little bit different because they're going to be dumping into the side of the truck, a lot cleaner. And on those windy days with a closed cart, you're not going to have newspaper blowing up and down your streets and causing all them problems.
Okay, no more. Go ahead.
I would like to add, though, that while the recyclables should go into the cart loose, we strongly recommend that everyone bags their trash before they put their trash in their cart. We have seen carts half filled with styrofoam peanuts on a windy day, and then the driver goes to empty that cart, and none of those peanuts ever end up in the hopper of the truck. They just blow out and go everywhere. So it's really important for people to bag their trash before they put it in the cart.
Okay, okay. So we want to keep things from blowing in the wind, and because I grew up with these folks, I couldn't resist putting in a little plug for my friends Peter, Paul, and Mary, who.
Where's the music?
Well, if you want, I'll sing, but I don't think you want. So, okay, it's a good thing we're not talking about magic dragons here. Huh? Okay, all right. So we're continuing with what are the benefits of going strictly to carts. On my list here is the next one, which is automated pickup. Basically, the trucks do the work.
They do all the work. No more, getting out and having to stop the truck and, cause problems on the streets. Probably, a lot of times we leave black marks on the street, and that'll be gone because they're going to ease up to stops, grab carts, and no more getting out of the truck. The truck does all the work.
That's great, and I'm sure that the guys inside the truck really appreciate that. I remember years ago, Bruce, that we did a story about one of your workers who'd been on the job for, I don't know, 20 years or something like that, and just for fun, we kind of calculated how much weight he had lifted during that time, and it went into, like billions and billions of pounds of lifting over his lifespan.
Yes, you're talking about Tim Turner. He worked for the Solid Waste Division for 46 years.
46 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
But getting back to the whole aspect of lifting, that's a part of the job that's really hard on the workers, especially for those who are getting out and picking up those recycling bins all day long that can weigh 40, 50 pounds if they're loaded full of magazines and catalogs. So it's a lot easier on them. And of course, every time they have to stop and get out of the truck, there's always the risk of tripping over the curb or slipping on ice or tripping over landscaping stones or whatever. So it's a lot safer for them.
Absolutely.
It's definitely one of the toughest jobs we have.
I can't imagine. No. Okay, and so we've listed a number of individual items, and the bottom line here, tell us about that. Why will you mention that the new trucks are less costly?
Yes, they're less costly. We'll have to buy less of them. We just won't have to have as many for backup because, again, we can move trucks around as needed. And we can operate more efficiently as well, too. For example, I mentioned a minute ago on recycling, instead of running 5 trucks daily, we're now going to run 3 trucks daily. So that's a pretty significant.
That cuts everything almost in half.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I would imagine it's going to save lost time and energy and injuries to the workers, translates into financial costs as well. So
it does. When we have people injured, it really sets us back because we just literally do not have enough people to get out and do the work that we need to do. So it affects us very negatively.
When we began this discussion with the first or second slide, you had a look at the bins and what goes into the bins, and you mentioned a number of types of items. One item that you kind of left out, and we were testing people to see if they were paying attention, was glass. And you did that for a reason because, well, you explain it. You can put the glass in there, but there's a better way.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how?
I'm glad you brought up glass. Glass is it's a really important issue, and we're still trying to get the word out and help people understand the problems with glass recycling. When glass is collected in the curbside bins or in the cart, unfortunately, when it's dumped into the truck and when it's compacted in the truck and transported and then dumped at a sorting facility, it gets broken to a great extent. And when it goes to a sorting facility, the first station that it reaches is a big screen to screen out all the broken glass and things like cigarette butts and chicken bones and lemon rinds and things like that. Well, that glass is so contaminated that it really can't be recycled. And matter of fact, the capture rate on curbside glass is probably only about 30%. But if we can have people take it to a drop-off center, 100% of that glass gets recycled. And so we're really trying to encourage Loveland residents to take their glass to one of the 3 sites that we have here in town.
Okay. And the bins are going away for use, but I understand you're recommending them maybe hold on to them for glass collection. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Mike.
it works really well to keep your glass at home in the bins and just, haul it down to the yard waste site there on Wilson. And it's just real convenient to keep those bins for that purpose.
Okay.
That's one of our sites. So
We have three.
Three of them. There's one at Pro Park up on North Garfield, and right behind the Habitat for Humanity store. There's one at the east side Walmart at 1325 North Denver Avenue, and then of course the one that Mike mentioned at our recycling center. And we're working on establishing a couple more sites as well.
I see. Okay. Well, tune in for that. When you talk about glass, now you're basically talking about bottles and jars, that sort of thing? Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there any type of glass that is inappropriate? I mean, I imagine
Yes.
you're talking about pop bottles and pickle jars and things like that, beer bottles, wine bottles, etc.
Any kind of food or beverage glass is fine. What we can't have in that bin is any kind of bakeware or Pyrex, no light bulbs, no mirrors, no window glass, no eyeglasses, drinking glasses, and
Not drinking glasses.
no,
Huh.
no.
Well, that surprises me.
Well, and the reason for that is all these other types of glass melt at a different temperature than container glass. Container glass goes into a big furnace and is typically heated up to about 2,800 degrees. Well, at that temperature, Pyrex, for example, will not melt at that temperature.
Okay.
And the other types of glass have qualities that contaminate that glass. So ceramics are also a huge contaminant, like an old plate or this coffee mug, for example, would be a big contaminant to glass recycling. So it's really important that people only put food and beverage glass into these boxes.
Okay. Interesting. All righty. Anything more you want to say about glass before I move on to the next slide?
Well, we're just very pleased at the level of participation that we're seeing from Loveland residents so far, bringing glass and bringing clean glass to the drop-off sites. So we're trying to get that message out. Obviously, people are hearing that and responding, and we're hoping to make it even more convenient by offering more sites.
Good. Good. Okay. Well, let's go from glass to yard waste. This is a program that is a bit unusual that we have here in Loveland. What is the yard waste service, and how does it work?
Well, basically residents can order a yard waste cart, and basically anything from their yard to branches, leaves, grass, anything from their garden can be placed in the cart, and we come pick it up curbside.
And why? Why not just throw it away in the trash?
Well, it definitely can be recycled. We take all of our stuff to A1 Organics, and they compost it all.
Okay.
They make it into a very high-quality soil amendment that's sold up and down the Front Range.
Oh, really?
So it's great. Our yard waste composting program, I think, is an example of an environmental problem. I guess an environmental problem certainly that's got a good local economic development solution to it, and that is we've got a local company in A1 Organics who can take that material and make a fine product and sell it locally as well.
I see. Good. And you mentioned grass and some other things that should go in. What should not go in that cart?
Not sod, dirt, rock. Just basically everything from your yard can go in there except for dirt, rock.
Yeah, when we say yard waste, we're not implying the old garden hose or the lawn chair.
Not everything in the yard,
Yeah, yard
right?
waste is.
Yeah.
We don't mean that
Okay.
in a broader sense, but yes, no pet waste, and nothing can be bagged that goes in the cart.
Ah, all right. Okay. Okay. So we've talked about recycling, trash, glass, yard waste. Let's talk about the catch-all, other stuff. Like I'm getting a new set of tires on my car, and I just realized I got some extra tires still in the garage, and we redid some work in the house, and I had the proverbial kitchen sink. What do I do with things like that?
Well, the good news is we have a very fine recycling center here in Loveland, one that I think is probably unequaled anywhere in the state or even the region. We accept a wide variety of items for recycling, such as tires, appliances, yard waste, lumber. There's probably 50 different items that we accept, all of them listed on our website.
Plus everything we accept at the curb.
Correct.
Okay, so if I could theoretically bring, well, we talked about bringing the glass there. If I don't subscribe to yard waste, could I bring my grass clippings there or my tree branches, trimmings, that sort of thing?
Absolutely. We encourage Loveland residents to bring their yard waste to our site, and we mail a permit out to every household every spring. And those Loveland households with a permit can gain free access to the site to drop off all of these materials, most of which can be taken for free. And even folks who live outside the city are welcome to bring their materials to us too. We will charge them a small fee for yard wastes, tires, and a few other items like electronic components.
Okay. Okay. Now let's talk about the electronics for a minute, because I know that's obviously newer. You're talking about what type of items when you talk about electronics?
Basically, just about everything from televisions to microwaves to CPUs to toasters and everything, you know, basically everything.
If it's got a board or a cord, we take it.
Well put. Okay. So my old cell phone or my 286 computer.
Yes.
Remember those were hot computers in their day. Yeah.
Wow, that sounds, I think there's some guys from the Colorado Computer Museum that would like to get a hold of that.
Okay. Okay. So those are some of the things. All right. So we've talked about all these services. Let's talk about costs. Here's a rate chart for, again, my favorite slide with the dogs. These are the different rates depending on how big a trash cart you have.
Yes, you can see what we have is a volume-based rate structure. And what that means is that the more trash you generate, the more you pay. So that we have that structure for a reason. We try to encourage waste reduction and recycling because, as you can see, if you generate very little trash,
pay a little money.
Pay a little money, exactly. Right. And with our convenient options for recycling, yard waste composting, and then, as you mentioned, all those unusual items we take at the recycling center, it's very possible for a lot of households to get down to that 17 or 32 gallon service level and realize some significant savings.
So theoretically, for roughly speaking $3 or $5 a month, that's a month, the truck will stop every week.
Correct.
So, especially for the small one, that's like, what, 60, 75 cents per pickup. That's pretty inexpensive. Yeah. Okay. Now the bottom line there says recyclables collection no charge. So what does that mean? Well,
every household is charged a mandatory solid waste management fee on their utility bill, and that's a separate charge in addition to what any household would pay for trash cart service or yard waste cart service. But the recycling service, there's no additional charge over and above that. Okay. If people want to recycle, they can receive bins or a cart in our new areas for no additional charge.
Okay, so if they don't subscribe or they're not your trash customers, or not anybody's trash customers perhaps, they still can get the blue bin or carts and get the recycling every other week now, it will be, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Next rate cart, the yard waste. How does that work? Mike, what is the cost on that?
The cost on that cart is $7.50 a month. And you know, we come by every week to pick up your yard waste.
Okay. And what happens? I don't know about you, but when my in January and February, I'm not out cutting the grass. Do I still need to pay for yard waste service when there's no yard waste?
Matter of fact, no, you don't. You can actually call, and we'll come pick the cart up for the winter season and redeliver it back out when you need it.
Okay.
But we prefer that people actually hang on to the cart during the winter because we don't charge during that time. And we see this flood of carts coming back to us in the fall when there's really no need for us to pick it up. So we really encourage folks to hang on to it. We don't charge during the months of December, January, February, and March. And so you can just hang on to it, put it back in the yard somewhere, store tools in it, whatever, and then come April 1st, we can start servicing it again, and that's when the charge is reactivated.
So basically, if you're going to continue the service the next year, there's no point in returning it come the start of the winter.
It's just another cart for us to have to wash.
Right, and then you take it in, yeah, okay. Plus, it's a great place to store your snow shovels, right?
There you go.
For right.
Assuming you
Okay.
can store them during the winter.
Yeah, yeah, well, at least 10, yeah, okay. And lastly, the recycling center, different costs for different items?
Yes, we charge for just a few items for Loveland residents. There is a charge per tire, about $2 per tire for a small passenger tire. And then we do charge for e-scrap. And the charges vary, whether it's a CPU or a monitor or a television set, depending on size and weight. But in general, these charges are very reasonable, and we've been able to negotiate very good deals with our end users so that we can pass on the savings to our customers.
Okay, okay. This next slide is kind of a summary, and I realize folks watching this, you can't read and take notes on all of this, but what we tried to do is kind of put everything in one place so you know what goes where. Hopefully, obviously, not every possible thing you might want to discard is on this list, but these are probably the most frequently seen items. And we are in this month's city update, that's the newsletter that people get in with their utility bill. We are focusing on all these changes in the solid waste division and including this chart with a handy dotted line so you can snip it off and with a little magnet put it on your refrigerator or wherever, so if you come up with an item and are not sure where it should go, this will help you.
It's an excellent guide.
So, cool. Cart placement, Mike, you wanted to mention that. The guys, where you put the carts makes it either easy, difficult, or impossible, I suppose, to be picked up by the fellows in the truck. Where should they be?
They should be at the end of the gutter line, spaced about 3 feet apart, and at least 3 feet away from cars, because sometimes our guys come in with these side loaders and they have real difficulties getting to the cart when it's close to cars. So as long as you keep it away from any carts or any other objects like basketball hoops and at the end of the gutter line and spaced properly apart, we can get them for you. No problem.
As Mike mentioned, push it out into the street, drop it in the gutter, and push it out another foot. But don't.
It shouldn't be in the white concrete part of the gutter. It
No,
should be on
we've
the
actually
street
had carts
itself.
float away and float blocks away.
Really?
Absolutely,
Wow.
yes. Mhm. Yeah, and just a couple mornings ago, I walked out. One of my neighbors set their blue recycling bin right out in the gutter, and it was raining, and all that newspaper was getting soaked because the water was running right.
That goes from a 30-pound bin to being a 100-pound bin when it gets
Exactly.
wet like that.
Exactly. So of course that problem will go away since we'll be going to a lidded cart for recycling.
Right.
But again, as Mike said, 3 feet apart, out in the street, right out from the gutter a ways.
Yeah, those automated gadgets or whatever, the grabbers or whatever on the trucks have kind of an arm that goes like this, so there's got to be enough room between here and here.
Exactly.
The parts and the bumper of the car,
Right.
etc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see some interesting setouts out there where the carts are all sandwiched together, and it makes it very time consuming for our guys to have to try to pick up each individual cart. Another challenge we have, and of course this problem will go away, is that somebody will have a big trash cart or a yard waste cart and hide their recycling bins right behind it, so the recycling driver can't see it as he's driving down the street.
Gotcha.
So it's important to keep those out where they can be
So
viewed.
at least until it changes, the bins should precede the.
Exactly.
So the bins would be on the left, and the carts on the right.
Right, as from the perspective of somebody walking out of their house.
To the curb.
It would make it much easier on the recycle drive.
Okay, good. All righty. Well, we've talked a lot about a number of things and a number of changes. Anything else you want to mention or add?
Well, I guess I would add that Loveland residents continue to do an outstanding job at recycling and reducing waste. Our overall recycling rate for Loveland households last year, 2008, was about 56%.
Wow.
So 56% of all materials by weight were either recycled or composted, which is really an outstanding figure.
Well, that's great. That's great. Okay. Well, guys, Bruce, thank you for being here again. You're a regular. Mike, it's a pleasure to have a new face for a change instead of that guy. We see him all the time. Most importantly, folks, thank you for tuning in to Loveland's Talking. Hopefully this has been enlightening, and we'll look for you next month for another discussion about something or other. Okay, we don't know yet. See you next month. Bye-bye.